Now, we voted to leave the European Union almost 8 years ago. Seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? And whether or not you think Brexit has been done, the fact is it's meant to be over. The end. Finito. We need to move on. But some people won't keep banging on about the EU. And it's not just me, because chief among them is Sir Tony Blair. Yes, the former Labour leader has got involved by telling Sir Keir Starmer that the party must, in his own words, reset relations with the EU if, as we all expect, the Labour Party win the next general election. Well, in an interview with the Sunday Times at the weekend, he said that the UK had drifted too far from participation in the big political union on our own continent. Well, I'm rejoined in the studio by Mark Littlewood, who's the director of the Popular Conservatives, and the political commentator, Seda Chaidikidu. Welcome back to the pair of you. Right, let's start with you, Mark. Who's pulling the strings? Tony Blair never seems to be too far away. He's hovering in the background. Is he the puppet master? And more to the point, does this closer ties mean death by 1,000 treaties? Is it Brexit being undone on the quiet?
Yeah, that's my real worry, Martin. I'm not so worried that Tony Blair will be the Prime Minister and Keir Starmer if Labour were to win in name only. But Tony Blair's clearly a huge figure in the Labour Party, and what he says is listened to by the leader of the Labour Party. But look, I've got really bad news for you and for your viewers and for anyone who voted for Brexit. And that's that this argument is never going to go away. It would be nice to think that we clarified it, closed it down, that's it. I know it took 5 years and endless wrangling. But look, in fairness, the question of what should our relationship be with countries on the continent and the EU is always going to be a topic of debate. Now, here's my worry, that what the Labour Party will do is slowly realign us with EU regulation. And they will argue that that will facilitate trade with the EU, and on that narrow point they might be right, but it proves to be a huge barrier to actually negotiating trade deals with the rest of the world. Because you're sat down saying, we've already signed up to all of this with the EU, we can't negotiate with you about financial services standards, pharmaceutical standards, because we've bought the whole EU rule book, hook, line and sinker. So what I'd like to see this government do before the election is to tie down some more trade deals and, crucially, get our membership of what's called CPTPP. I think I got that right over the line. That's the Common Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. And if you start wedding yourselves into those deals, then it actually becomes harder for a future government to re-embed us in the EU's regulatory orbit. So my plea to Kemi Badenoch is get on with it and fast.
Stella, do you think a lot of people still believe that Sir Keir Starmer, don't forget he headed up the People's Vote movement for 3 years to reverse Brexit, to get a second referendum since then? Like Blair, he's draped himself in the St George's Cross today. He's acting every part the Patriot. Brexit will not get undone, but we won't get a second vote. But perhaps by all these backdoor trade deals, they'll get what they want, and that is de facto membership of the EU without giving us a single vote on it.
Not a chance. No, you can't do that without a referendum. You can't do that without having a complete revolt in Parliament. And Keir Starmer has zero intentions of doing that. He has not said anything like that. What's going on here is that you have a former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, who is exceptionally talented at grabbing the headlines and then getting attention and becoming an influential political figure. He's done it once, he's doing it again. But the reality is that it's not going to be Tony Blair who's going to be Prime Minister come the next elections. It's going to be Keir Starmer. Now, I think Keir Starmer is the right person to make Brexit a success. And the reason why I think that...
He tried to stop it.
...is... Exactly, and I will tell you why this is actually positive in terms of what the next Prime Minister of the UK has to do. In 2025, the UK does need to negotiate its trade deals again with the EU, right? So Tim Sipman was saying this morning on Times Radio, who just released his new book, he was saying how Theresa May was the wrong person to deliver Brexit because the fact that she had this Remain image meant that she had to be extra harsh and people didn't trust her to deliver Brexit. So she had to prove that, look, I'm not an enemy to Brexit. Now, Keir Starmer, the new Prime Minister, as a new Prime Minister, his job is going to be to prove to the EU, look, I'm not hostile towards you guys. Brexit is happening, but I'm not hostile to you, so please don't punish us. Be friends with us. Work with us on things. No, especially things like border security, which is absolutely essential. And Keir Starmer, for that reason, is going to be able to portray that image while delivering Brexit. Yeah, whereas another politician who has already completely damaged and destroyed a relationship with the EU would have to prove first that, look, we are not here to be hostile.
Well, I think I think, Stella, that says a bit more about the EU than it says about the UK. You can be a Brexiteer without being hostile to the EU. I wish the EU every success. It's a whole range of things we should be working with the EU on. A whole range of things. I'm not saying let's never pick up the phone and when we do only pick it up to swear at them. I want good relations with the EU. What's at stake here is not whether you want good relations with the EU. That's shared presumably by Brexiteers and Remainers. What's at stake is, do you want to be in the European Union's regulatory orbit? Do you think we should align British regulations? I think, was it Blair or Starmer who mentioned veterinary standards? You know, not a major area of policy. You start to align that. Do we start to align again on financial services, or do we diverge? That's the strategic choice. But whichever way you take it, I would hope that virtually every politician in Britain wants good and cordial relations with the EU, whether you're on the diverge side, which I am, or whether you're on your sort of get halfway back into bed side, which Keir Starmer is.
Right, and that brings us to the next point, because you said earlier on, Stella, no matter how sexy we make ourselves, that the EU won't want to marry us again. So they want to date us again. They want to marry us. They don't want to renegotiate. They don't want to do little contracts. They want us to rejoin. They've already said last month they're not interested in renegotiation. They want us to go back in. They want a referendum, not renegotiation. Be honest. Isn't that what most Labour MPs want anyway?
Well, no, that's not happening. We're playing hard to get. So this is why everyone will be lining up when Labour is in government. Every country will be lining up to have a trade deal with us, because we've proven that we can do it and we're confident in our ability to do it. And there is an image, there is a vision at the end of the tunnel which Keir Starmer is going to pursue. And I think this is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, what the voter cares is, am I better off? Are you making me poorer or are you making me richer?
Hang on, the mask has slipped a bit here, Stella. You say Labour's playing hard to get, but someone who's playing hard to get does want to be got at the end of it.
You'll be surprised.
Hard to get means that you get got at the end of it, and that is my concern here. That's my concern here. And I think we can have a very straightforward... I mean, from my point of view, Martin, I would recognise all single market regulation. If something is compliant with the European regulation, that'll do for me. Their food standards, their pharmaceutical standards, let it into our market. We might want to have regulations which are less strict here for the domestic market, but I would unilaterally offer all single market regulated products straight into the UK market, and I hope they would do the same for us.
OK, we have to leave it there. Mark Littlewood and Stella Chadikidu, thank you very much. Excellent to have you in the studio today.